In this video, I wanted to go through an example of how we would build a function to help us wrap our heads around the idea of having inputs and having return values. So if you remember, a function is going to take a series of inputs, or maybe potentially one input, and it's going to provide some sort of output to the user. So let's start off a file, and I want to build a, let's say I want to build a little fitness tracker. So I'm going to call this fitness.m. And I'm going to open that file up here as soon as I find it. Where did it go? There it is, fitness.m. And I'm just going to wipe out what's inside of there. Okay, so I've got to ask myself, let's think about what we want this app to do. So we're going to build this little app, and it's going to have the following inputs. It's going to input some information about a workout. So it's going to have the intensity. So let me do this on another line. It's going to have the intensity. And that could be, we'll just say, low, medium, or high intensity workout. And it's going to have a time, or we'll call this duration. So this is going to be some integer, some sort of time in minutes. And so maybe what I want to output is I want to output the person's calories burned. Okay, so maybe that's what I want to output. So now I want to design this function so that it accepts these two inputs called intensity and duration and has this output that I'm maybe going to call, we'll call that cal burned. Call this cal underscore burned. You don't have to have the underscore in there. That's just a way to separate the two words so I can see it's the calories burned. And so I need to define the function. So first of all, I type in the word function to let MATLAB know that what is about to follow is a set of instructions. And so normally what I would just do is now name the function. I could just say that I want to call this fitness. I want to call it fitness. And then I want to specify what inputs it has. So it's going to have two inputs that the user is going to give me, the intensity and duration. Now, the program doesn't know what intensity means or duration. These are just words. But anytime I reference these words within the body of the function, MATLAB is going to know that those are values that the user has provided me with. So the user has to specify those two inputs in this order. Now, if I want the function to output something, like for example, if you're going to have a plot, that plot is going to get printed to the screen. So you don't need to have an output of a plot, because whenever you use the plot function, it will automatically over here in the display window, it will show that plot no matter what. In this case, I want to return cal burned. So the way I do that is I type in cal underscore burned equals. And this is function notation. And in function notation, remember we say y equals f of x. So in this case, the y, the output, calories burned, is a function. A function is called fitness of these two inputs here. If I come down here and I type in end, that tells Octave that that's the end of the script. Stop executing the function at that point. If I save this and I run it, the window is just going to ask me what my two inputs are, right? So intensity, what do you want intensity to be? 3. Okay, so now Octave knows that intensity is set equal to 3 and duration is 5. And so nothing happened, right? It just said fitness of 3, 5, but calories burned was never assigned a value. Now, let me just give a simple example. Let's just say I want to output calories burned. And really primitively now, we're not actually going to calculate anything. Let's just say we want to do duration times 3. Okay, that's what we want calories burned to equal. So now what this means is, Octave reads this and it says, oh, it wants me to create a variable called calories burned, and it wants me to assign to that duration times 3. Wait a minute, what is duration? So it says, oh, the user has provided me with a value of duration, so it's going to insert that value here, multiply it by 3, and then take that entire result and assign it to this variable called calories burned. So watch what happens when we run this. If I say, in this case, intensity isn't being used. I know it's going to be a low, medium, or high, but let's just say I have a duration of 5. So what this should output is calories burned equals 5 times 3. And I click OK. And it says cal burned equals 15, ANS equals 15. Well, why did it output it twice? So first of all, it output calories burned because I didn't suppress the output. So if I put that semicolon there and now run it again and use those same inputs, then I get answer equals 15. This ANS, that is the return of this function. So anytime you have a return variable it is going to print that value. Well, what if I took this away? Let's see what happens if I take this away. I save this, I run it, click OK, click OK. The function didn't do anything. I mean, it computed calories burned equals duration times 3, but it did not actually have a we didn't ask it to return anything, right? So you don't see ANS equals 15 in this case, again, because we did not ask for a return. So we've got to specifically say return calories burned. And that equal sign right there just says it's going to determine calories burned by processing those input values. Okay, so what do I want this function to do? Well, I want to say that low is going to, I'm going to add some information here. I'm going to say low burns 10 calories per minute. Medium burns 20 calories per minute. And high intensity workout burns 30 calories per minute. So the first thing I need to do here is I'm going to wipe out this statement because I don't want that yet. I need to decide how I'm going to calculate calories burned. So I've got to determine whether the user said they're doing a low, medium, or high workout. Now, low, medium, and high are going to be provided as strings. A string is just a word that is encapsulated in quotes. That's how we know how to distinguish that, which is a string, and that string content is X, versus the letter X. Now it's trying to access a variable called X. I can type in anything in here that I want. It won't throw an error because a string is basically just a bunch of text. So here's what I want to do. I want to say if intensity is equal to low, then I want cal burned to be calculated in the following way. Well, I know that if it's a low intensity workout, that it's going to be 10 calories per minute times the number of minutes that I work out for, and the user has given that value to me in the form of duration. Now, if I come back over here and I say else if intensity equals medium, then I want calories burned to be computed, but I want it to be computed based on the fact that now I'm burning 20 calories per minute multiplied by the number of minutes. Okay, else if, now I don't want to use an else here because what if the user inputs a funky word like hello? Well, in that case, I don't want it to do anything because that doesn't classify as one of the possible intensities. So I will do an else if, and now I have to say else if intensity equals high, then cal burned equals 30 times duration. Okay. So let me try to run this. I'm going to save it. I'm going to run it. Intensity, okay, I'm going to go for low. Now notice that I have to feed it in quotes because otherwise it's thinking of LOW as a variable or variable name. And I do low, and then maybe I'm going to do for 5 minutes. Okay, so that should return cal burned equals 50. Let's see if it works. It does. Now it also prints stuff, so I should suppress that output so it doesn't show me what calories burned is. I just want the output. And I get 50 as an answer. So I've burned 50 calories. I could also make this fancier and say cal burned and then have it be a string and say, hey, you have burned 50 calories. If I run this again and if I take those quotes out just to show you that this won't work, it'll throw an error. It doesn't know what low means. It thinks low is the name of a variable. It's saying it's undefined. I don't have a variable called low. So difference between string and variable name is just the quotes in there. So let's just say now I do a medium intensity workout. And so that's going to be 20 times duration. So 20 times 5, that should be 100 calories. Uh-oh, what happened here? It seems I'm having some issue with passing the string. So let's say instead of passing intensity as a string, we just let 1 be low intensity, 2 be medium intensity, and 3 be high intensity. And so in this case now, if the person's intensity is low, it's equal to 1, then we want to burn 10 calories a minute. If intensity is 2, 20 calories a minute. If intensity is 3, 30 calories a minute. So now if I run this, I can specify the intensity to be, let's say, intensity 2. So now if I go for 5 minutes, I should burn 100 calories. And that's what I get. So now if I run it again, and I want a high intensity workout for 5 minutes, 30 times 5 should be 150 calories burned. what if the user inputs something else, like hello? Well, let's see what happens there. In this case, we're providing an else statement. I put an else statement here. This is just a good way to handle if somebody makes a mistake. Well, we could either print something to the screen. We could say, you know, something like calories burned could actually take on a string value. You could say error, not a valid intensity. So we're kind of mixing variable types here, but we're basically saying pass back the string error, not a valid intensity. Or you could even not pass a function back, but print something to the screen. We're not going to make that distinction here, but in this case, if they type in hello, they'll say, oh, ANS equals not a valid intensity. Let me try that again. It's just printing it twice because I didn't suppress it. It says error, not a valid intensity. So passing hello to the fitness function does not satisfy one of the 3 workouts. So in any case, this is kind of how you go about building a function. You got to decide what you want the inputs to be, what you want the output to be, and then how you process the input along the way. So keep in mind that anything that you do in here should relate back to these 2 input variables because that's what the user gives you. So the computer needs to know what to do with those variables. And here we're basically saying if that user passes an intensity of 1, then calculate the output, calories burned, by taking 10 times duration, which is the other value that they passed in. And this way you can really segment off what you want your code to do. And you're basically just giving the computer instructions to help you make decisions so that you don't have to compute those one by one. This function can quickly do computations for you. So hopefully this video has been a little bit more helpful on how you work with functions.